The movie starts with an introduction about the Spear of God that has been missing since World War I. One day, a man digging up an old abandoned church in Mexico finds it and gets possessed by a demon as a strange symbol appears on his arm. At present, a chain smoker, John Constantine, works as a demon hunter in Los Angeles. One day, his priest friend, Father Hennessy, calls him for the exorcism of a young girl. John arrives with his apprentice Chase and notices that the girl has been tied to the bed. He then opens the curtains to let sunlight enter the room and puts his special amulet on her forehead while reading Latin verses. After some struggle, the girl seems to calm down, but the demon reappears through her skin. John asks her family to bring a mirror, which they lift on her body. He then commands the demon to show its face. As soon as it shows up, it gets trapped in the mirror. Together, they throw the mirror out of the window, and it crashes into a million pieces, along with the demon. As John returns to his home, he coughs blood and gets worried. The following day, he goes to the hospital and discovers he has incurable lung cancer. Meanwhile, a young detective Angela goes to church to confess to killing a man. Later that night, Angela dreams about her sister, who is admitted to a psychiatric facility. Coincidentally, her twin sister Isabel jumps from the facility's roof and dies. The next morning, Angela is informed about her sister's suicide. After watching the security footage, Angela realizes that her sister removed her band before jumping and mentioned Constantine. Meanwhile, John meets his friend Beeman, who gives him valuable gifts to fight demons, including holy water and a screech beetle to repel demons. John thanks him and requests Beeman to investigate the recent demon invasion on Earth. When he leaves, John is approached by a demon who is covered in insects and warns John to stay away from demons. However, John isn't afraid of this phenomenon and uses a screech beetle to repel the demon. The demon vanishes after being hit by a van. Angela finds it hard to believe that her sister committed suicide, so she vows to investigate the matter deeply. Afterward, she goes to church for the Catholic funeral of her sister, but the father denies her request as her sister sinned by doing suicide. Later that night, John arrives at church and encounters Angela as he goes to meet half-breed angel named Gabriel. He requests Gabriel to extend his life, but Gabriel refuses and informs John that he is destined for hell for committing suicide during his childhood. Gabriel assures him that only a selfless act might land him in heaven, so he must work for that. Later, John leaves for a midnight club with Chase, who complains to John for not training him enough in confronting demons. John aims to meet Papa Midnight to discuss the recent demon activity he encountered. Papa is the man who keeps the balance between the forces of hell and heaven and swears to stay neutral in this fight. John's discussion with Papa is interrupted by a half-breed demon Balthazar who insults John. John tries to retaliate, but Papa interrupts their fight by reminding them that he can't allow a fight on his grounds. John then decides to head back home, but soon gets interrupted by Angela, who knocks at his door. She requests him to help with the mystery of her sister's death, but John refuses to help. As soon as she leaves, John notices dark shadows following her, so he decides to help her. He informs her about heaven and hell, but she laughs at him. A strange phenomenon occurs before she can get in her car. The whole street suddenly gets covered with darkness. At first, she thinks it's a power shortage, but gets scared as she hears strange noises, like the sounds of wings near her. John asks her to cover her eyes as he fights off demons, but Angela sees them as well. She questions John about these strange creatures, and he informs her that these are demons after her. John then decides to help Angela investigate her sister's death and goes to her apartment. He performs a ritual to see if Isabel is in hell or heaven and orders Angela to leave the apartment. During the ritual, he goes to hell, where he finds Isabel, and as he comes back, he confirms that Isabel committed suicide. Meanwhile, John's friend Hennessy looks at different newspapers and stops at the news of suicide at a mental facility. Hennessy visits the morgue and locates Isabel's dead body. He holds her lifeless hand when suddenly he gets shocked to see a newly formed satanic symbol on her wrist. But a security guard arrives, and Hennessy is forced to leave before he can investigate further. Strangely, he starts feeling extremely thirsty, so he goes to the nearby liquor store, but unfortunately, all the bottles don't open. Hennessy gets frantic, throws the bottles down aggressively, and falls onto the ground. Balthazar follows Hennessy wickedly and kills him with multiple stabs. As Balthazar tries to harm Hennessy further, an angel arrives and protects the dead body. Moreover, John and Angela discuss his childhood, and he informs her that he was able to see demons and hear sounds since childhood. But his parents made it difficult for him as they got him on antipsychotics and treatments. So he attempted suicide. He survived after a near-death experience, but now clearly sees demons easily. Suddenly, Angela gets a call about the death of Hennessy, and she and John arrive at the crime scene. John notices a strange symbol in Hennessy's arm and groans about being unable to protect his friend. He then decides to visit the place where Isabel died. John and Angela try to find clues about Isabel when they find her secret message written on the window pointing towards a satanic prophecy that says that Satan will rule this world one day. Beeman then informs John on a phone call that the symbol on Hennessy's hand represents Lucifer's son, Mammon, who wants to enter the earth with the help of a person with psychic abilities. Suddenly, some demonic bugs appear and kill Beeman, and John rushes with Angela to Beeman's place only to find him dead. Angela reveals to John that she has psychic abilities, and because she never used her abilities, those psychic abilities are no longer active. She requests John to help her activate those abilities as she wants to see whatever Isabel saw before her death. Thus, John submerges Angela into a bathtub and doesn't let her come out until she is on the verge of dying. She comes out of the water forcefully, breaking the bathtub. As a result, her psychic abilities get activated again, which helps her find the killer of Beeman, who turns out to be Balthazar. So John and Angela go to confront Balthazar, but John requests Angela to stay in the car while giving her an amulet for her safety. Later, John and Balthazar fight, with John throwing holy water on Balthazar's face, making his face half burnt. John eventually overpowers him, and Balthazar reveals that Mammon has already found the Spear of Destiny and will soon take control over the earth. John shoots Balthazar and tries to leave, but Angela arrives there, and Balthazar laughs at her for being an easy target. As Balthazar dies, suddenly, Mammon arrives and ignores Balthazar's pleas for resurrection. John and Angela then discuss the help of the divine being to Mammon by using blood on the Spear of God, which was used to kill Jesus. To locate the Spear of God, they need the help of midnight. Suddenly, Angela gets engulfed by a strange force. John tries to save her, but he cannot do so. He immediately rushes to the Midnight Club accompanied by Chase. After some arguments, John convinces Midnight to let him use the special chair. After the chair ride, John gets valuable information as he borrows some holy water, crosses from Midnight, and leaves to search for Angela. John learns that Mammon is in the hospital with other demons, so he goes to the hospital along with Chase, who makes a great plan to defeat Mammon. They reach the building, and Chase immediately puts holy water inside its water source. John then sprinkles the holy water onto many demons and kills them instantly. Meanwhile, Angela gets drowned inside a swimming pool by an unseen force. Mammon forcefully sends Angela to hell and takes possession of her body. When John arrives to rescue her, Mammon attacks John, submerging him in the pool. John tries to perform an exorcism on Angela. At first, he succeeds, but later realizes he cannot cast out Mammon as he is trapped in Angela's body. As a result of exorcism, an unseen source kills Chase, which upsets John, so he calls upon divine assistance, and Gabriel arrives, revealing his plan to let Mammon into the world. According to Gabriel, the road to salvation begins tonight, and he sides with the devil's son. Gabriel then goes to Angela's body to take Mammon out with the Spear of Destiny. However, John attempts suicide to call Lucifer, and the time stops with Lucifer's arrival as he tries to collect John's soul. John informs him of Mammon's plan, and Lucifer gets angry, defeats Gabriel by taking away his powers, and sends Mammon back to hell. As Lucifer asks the last wish of John, he requests to send Isabel to heaven. Just as Lucifer grants the last wish, he realizes that John has committed a selfless act, and now he will go to heaven. Lucifer gets agitated and angrily cures John's lung cancer to ensure that John stays alive. He hopes that one day John will make a mistake that will finally land him in hell. Soon, John wakes up as a healthy individual, while Angela is also perfectly fine. They retrieve the Spear of God as they glance at Gabriel, who is now powerless. Gabriel tries to trick John into killing him, but John just punches him and leaves. Later, John gives the Spear of God to Angela to safeguard it. In post-credit scenes, John visits the grave of Chase and notices that Chase has risen to heaven as an angel. Constantine, released in 2005. Directed by Francis Lawrence, produced on a budget of approximately $100 million. Constantine is based on the DC Comics Vertigo Hellblazer comic book character, John Constantine. The movie used both practical and digital effects to create its supernatural world. The depiction of hell as a parallel dimension to Earth with a similar but desolate and fiery landscape was a significant visual accomplishment at the time. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this, and we'll see you at the next recap.